In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about teeth envy, being weirdly romantic or romantically weird, describing Ed Gein's house using a thesaurus, and awful, awful smells in our discussion of The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. I forgot about Ed Gein's house with the thesaurus. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. And today we're going to discuss The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much you don't care about any of that, then listen up.
They just like us. You like us, you really like us.
Oh my! Oh.
We're all aflutter.
Oh,
I don't know.
indeed.
I don't know
either.
So my piece of background information is I think we created the theme for this month based on this book as well as the Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich.
And also this delicious death.
Yeah. So it's nice to actually hit our book theme goals that we plan about a year in advance.
Yes. Finally we get to read these weird books. It's great. It's really
Underline
great.
the word weird several times. Put in bold. In fact, make the font bigger and use a different font for it. Because
Yes.
weird.
Yes.
Do you have any actual, genuine, real background information, by the way?
I have a lot of background information.
Okay.
This was a really good article that I read. It's called Body Horror and Folklore, Cassandra Khaw in Conversation with Lee Mandello. And I found it on Tor. And there's so much. But I think that one had a lot of good information about, obviously, body horror. And there's a quote from Cassandra about why they write the thing that they do. And it's because they didn't have a good, healthy relationship with their body growing up, and then had a fascination with the internal workings of the body as a result. And then they say, regardless of who we are, regardless of our backgrounds, we're all still coils of entrails nested in skin, all hoping the mechanisms will continue to tick along. And we are also all terrified of the moment they stop. And I just like how flowery and romantic. We're still coils of entrails nested in skin. I was like, that sounds like something that I would appreciate. And then I read another interview, and this one was with Grimdark magazine. And they talk about the Disney-fied versions of fairy tales and how obviously the story is literally the exact opposite. And Cassandra Khaw says that they found a cartoon on 9gag. It's a College Humor comic strip from years and years ago that asked the question, what if Ariel laid eggs? And it was really, really disgusting. So I found that we can share with everyone. And then I found another comic that is, it features Ariel and King Triton. And Ariel says, "Father, where do babies come from?" And King Triton says, "Well, once your mother and I decided we were ready to start a family, she laid approximately 1,000 eggs, of course. Most of them were eaten by predators, where you see Flotsam and Jetsam staring at tiny mermaid baby eggs." And then he goes on to say, "Actually, your mother ate many of the eggs herself to regain energy. You were one of the precious few who survived long enough to hatch. Does that answer your question? And then there's Ariel, like, with the sideways, dopey look on her face, and she says, I guess. So, yeah, I think it's all just weird and funny and gross and amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think well, I mean, this leads nicely into like my initial thoughts, which was I don't really know how to describe this book because it does take a lot of elements from a lot of different other stories and fairy tales. But I think the one word that you said from all that background information stands out is weird.
Weird. Yes. Weird. Weird. Yeah. I really appreciate books by Cassandra Khaw. I mean, we've only done one, and I got to cosplay one of those characters, and that was really great. But
I love that book, Blackened Teeth.
Yes.
Brilliant book.
Nothing but blackened teeth, and then we recreated the blackened teeth monster. I can't remember what kind of monster they were called, but we recreated her eating popcorn, and it was so gross. I had popcorn all in my teeth. It was disgusting. Yeah. So now we have another creature with fantastic lots of teeth. And also she's a sea monster, so hey.
That's definitely a question for Cassandra Khaw. It's like, teeth.
Yes.
Just teeth question mark.
Teeth?
That is the question.
Shall we begin?
Yes, we should.
The first night. In the shadows stands a ruined house that looks like bones and ragged skin, crooked fingers and a gaping mouth. Inside, a mother watches her 2-days-old daughters eating, sitting astride their meal. The children croon to each other as they lick blood from their fins and fingertips. They have their father's beauty, but their mother's teeth. What once was a human adult has been thoroughly feasted upon. The mermaids leave nothing to waste.
The plague doctor, the last of the mermaid's husband's people after her children's hunger caused an apocalypse.
Yes.
Wonderful. Ask where the mermaid is going, but she cannot speak. The mermaid dreams of returning to the inky depths, but she has been on dry land too long. Perhaps she could find another kingdom, marry another prince, murder her family, then pull her teeth until her daughters come with their hunger. The plague doctor seems to know her thoughts and asks her if she would like company. The mermaid smiles, for she cannot speak. Her husband cut out her tongue, cooked it, and fed it to her, seasoned with 5 spice and saffron, when he discovered she was pregnant. Yeah, that's not really what happens.
Before the plague doctor and the mermaid mount their horses and leave the kingdom, it is burned to ashes at the plague doctor's request. It's cold as they travel. The plague doctor's breath plumes, though the mermaid doesn't feel the cold. But at the plague doctor's insistence, the mermaid is wrapped in furs. They travel through the wilderness, stopping occasionally, once for the plague doctor to leave a black feather in a little shrine, until they reach a clearing with old cairns and empty graves.
The pair make camp for the night amongst the long dead, the mermaid making a fire and badly cooking a fish, while the plague doctor does everything else. The mermaid taps her nose, indicating the plague doctor's mask, which they take off for the first time to reveal an androgynous, untextured face, almost doll-like, with fine stitching across it. The plague doctor offers a trade, one question for one of their own.
The mermaid touches the stitches. The plague doctor says they are manufactured. In return, they ask the mermaid's name and are given a guttural exhalation, which is, frankly, very hard for the plague doctor to pronounce. Suddenly, 2 boys run into the clearing. The smaller boy in front is naked, holding his slashed belly. The second is holding a piece of metal with a black tip. The second boy leaps at the smaller and stakes him, shouting, "The pig is dead!" The mermaid watches, but the plague doctor, mask replaced, steps up as more boys emerge from the forest. The plague doctor reaches for the murderer, called Samson. separating bones and tearing cartilage. The other boys shout their objections, saying it's only a game, they've all been the pig before, and that they come back from it better once the saints fix them. Warily, the plague doctor and mermaid agree to go with the boys and see for themselves. But first, Samson cuts a bezoar from the pig boy.
The boys drag the corpse behind them and begin to sing until they emerge from the forest into a village whose only remarkable feature is the gallows with 15 corpses in various stages of decay swinging from it. Samson takes the bezoar and shouts their return while teenagers appear from the cottages whooping with delight and circle the group, bombarding Samson with questions and paying no heed to the plague doctor with their knife or the mermaid with her sharp teeth.
The plague doctor stiffens when they hear deeper, older male voices amongst the teenagers welcoming them back. 3 men dressed the same, including their antlered bone masks, approach through the teenagers, asking Samson what he brought them, indicating the plague doctor and the mermaid. Samson, nonchalantly, says he found them while on the hunt.
The plague doctor and mermaid are led to a small hovel. As the mermaid looks at the belongings scattered about, the plague doctor remarks in surprise at the arrogance of the 3 army surgeons for setting themselves up as gods. The plague doctor explains that their people believe in an afterlife, that some, like the 3 army surgeons, could prolong life, exchange failing parts of the body for new until they eventually assembled new life from parts. Someone comes to the hovel, summoning them.
The body of the hunted child, Luke, lies on a pyre of dried leaves and flowers, surrounded by children on their knees, humming. Silently, the 3 surgeons watch on until they welcome the plague doctor and the mermaid. The 3 surgeons arrange themselves around the body of Luke and begin their ritual. They fill the corpse with the bezoar, bronze cogs, spirals of wire, and meticulously measured organs from saltwater jars. At last, Luke screams and convulses. This is not a willing resurrection. What have they done? The plague doctor is disgusted, accusing them of catalyzing murder, dragging the child back to be bound by steel and sinew.
To prove that they would not do unto others what they have not done to themselves, each of the 3 surgeons demonstrate that they are willing to be cut apart and reassembled. The first removes their hand, the second their eye that can be taken out, and the third their heart by way of other organs piled high. The plague doctor stays quiet throughout the demonstration.
I don't know if I could stay quiet while watching that.
Well, I think I would be quiet because I'd be like jaw open, like, huh? Because you just imagine this table, and it's a dirty table as well, because this place is like a disgusting hovel, and suddenly all these body parts are just put on top. It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
The second night. The mermaid leaves the hovel and heads into a hut hidden in the trees filled with bottles and jars of parts. Amongst the clutter, the mermaid finds the oval black stone she was looking for. After she eats the offal and detritus of the 3 surgeons, the parts they have removed and discarded as no longer having use for. Returning to the hovel after her meal, the mermaid tells the plague doctor they should leave. At first, surprised the mermaid can speak, the plague doctor soon realizes the mermaid has had her fill. However, the plague doctor cannot leave. They want to help the children free themselves. They are interrupted then by an unfamiliar boy sent to fetch them for breakfast. I don't think the mermaid needs to eat any breakfast. Yeah.
She's like a hobbit. She wants second breakfast.
Yes.
In the banquet room, the 3 surgeons sit upon their thrones, a fat repast laid upon front of them. There are 2 empty stools at the table, and the children cluster around the 3 surgeons. The plague doctor declines the meal in favour of tending the horses, but mentions that Samson is not there. The surgeons tell the plague doctor that Samson is off doing what children do, though the doctor notices that one of the surgeon's eyes look just like Samson's.
On the riverbank, the mermaid tries to persuade the plague doctor to leave. However, they can't leave the children because they remember what it was like. The mermaid calls the 3 surgeons the plague doctor's creators masters, saints, gods, and parents, though each label agitates them further and solidifies their need to help the children. The mermaid doesn't understand. All the children look like they have all been changed under the three surgeons' ministrations and seem to relish the change. The plague doctor argues for compassion. They're just children, after all. But to the mermaid, they're all just meat.
Can we stick to the story, please, Amanda, not real life?
Meat.
The village is bustling with activity. In one field, boys plant bones into the soil. A girl tells the plague doctor and the mermaid that they are for the witch bride, a familiar name to the mermaid, rumoured to have been the downfall of a distant kingdom. The same girl also tells them to mind their business before taking the horse to be tended. The plague doctor turns to the mermaid. They have an idea on how to kill this religion. They just need to convince the children the saints are wolves, and to do that, they will need a Judas goat.
They find Luke at a shrine at the back of the village. When the mermaid calls the three surgeons makers, Luke gives a similar agitated reaction as the plague doctor, stating they are to be called saints. At first, Luke is reluctant to show the plague doctor the work performed on him, but the plague doctor offers to help with the pain. Once Luke is partially disrobed, the plague doctor inspects the poor stitching and mismatched skin across the boy's back. Luke grants permission for the plague doctor to tend his wounds. The plague doctor talks to Luke, who is skeptical about what has been done to him and why. He spouts the saints' doctrine, but with no enthusiasm. The plague doctor is able to sow the seeds that the three surgeons lie.
Later, in their hovel, the plague doctor tells the mermaid of where they came from. A century ago, they were found nearly dead under a pile of corpses by the three surgeons. Their countries were at war, and despite orders that no prisoner of war should be left alive, they were one of the first to be administered by the three surgeons. The plague doctor left with them and became their test subject for every new experiment they concocted. Eventually, all that remained of that child is what became the plague doctor after they ran away. It seems, after they left, the surgeons recruited more children for their experimentations. Ew.
Weird.
Ew. Yeah. Weird.
One of the surgeons has changed their eye color again. Instead of wearing their robes and antlered masks, they wear burlap robes. Instead of speaking as one, they have split. And instead of being ceremonial, they laugh with the children. The normalcy rankles. It reeks of rehearsal. Finally, one of the surgeons asks what the mermaid is. They know some aquatic creature, but not exactly what. In reply, they receive a smile filled with teeth. In the end, the mermaid strikes a bargain with the surgeons. If they perform 2 more miracles, including if they change their eye color again, pretending that they've always been that way, the mermaid will give the surgeons any part of them they ask or require.
The 3 surgeons again perform the miracles upon themselves, removing their hand, removing their eyes, removing their heart. Later, the plague doctor questions what the mermaid is doing. Yes, they are showing the children their saints are only men. The mermaid begins to eat the hand, the eyes, the heart. In the remains of the surgeons, the mermaid can taste Samson and his traumatic death.
The 3rd night. There is commotion in the village, and one of the surgeons is hunched over on their knees, their eyes bound by a bloody cloth. They pretend to see the truth, but they slip and fall but do not scream. The plague doctor leans over and carves them open. To the crowds of children watching, the plague doctor tells them their saints promised perfection, but they are fallible and full of lies. A scream interrupts the spectacle, and as one, the children turn and head to the source, a small cottage. The plague doctor and mermaid follow.
In the cottage, there are pants, gasps, and cries, the sound of retching and an already pungent smell of mildew. When the scene is revealed, the girl whose hovel was given to the plague doctor and mermaid is lying, still alive with arms raised, with one of the surgeons buried in her abdomen, feasting, stopping only to rear up and rip out her ribs before continuing their meal. Luke is standing beside the plague doctor and the mermaid, and he tells them they were right about the saints. An older boy hears Luke's heresy and bashes his skull in with a spade before hitting the mermaid. Dying.
Great. The mermaid wakes up strapped to a table as they are being cut into. Looking down, she sees she has been vivisected, every organ removed and placed in jars. The surgeon continues to cut, and this time her arm is severed. He compliments her on her resilience, and their conversation is cordial, given the circumstances.
Weird.
The surgeon inquires about her swim bladder, and she tells him it is in the roof of her mouth. A lie? To trick them? Yes. As the surgeon digs into her mandible, the mermaid thrusts upward and her teeth close onto the surgeon's face. The surgeon fights the bite, but the mermaid is strong, despite her organs literally being strewn about the room. She does not let up and begins to devour the surgeon, leaving nothing behind.
No one comes to investigate the screams and cries, and the mermaid is able to savour the gore under her nails and the piece of hip bone on the floor as her organs rejuvenate. A howl rents the quiet, and donning the surgeon's clothes, the mermaid leaves the surgical theatre turned dining room. In the snow, amongst the blood and footprints, the mermaid finds the plague doctor's tracks. They have been hobbled, the children intent on playing, but the mermaid follows the tracks. The blizzard grows, the cold for once affecting her as she passes the not long dead corpse of an impaled boy and kisses his cheek for luck. The sounds of singing children wind through the forest. Eventually, a girl attacks, but the mermaid is ready. The pain of the injuries is nothing. Her teeth are sharp. The girl's blood warms her. The screams of triumph draw the mermaid's attention. Dum, dum, dum.
The plague doctor is leaning on a tree, a dead boy in their lap, blood everywhere, their mask gone. They have killed 17, but are tired and dying. The mermaid picks up the plague doctor's intestines, shifts the corpse, and sits on their lap, begging them not to die. At last they share a kiss, and the plague doctor asks to be buried, except for a lock of their hair, which they request that the mermaid carry through the centuries so they may share her immortality.
The mermaid succumbs to death and the cold until she is slapped and punched in the face, breaking her nose and eye socket. Someone says, "Wake up, little fish." It's the surgeons, and she is surrounded by the children. The plague doctor moves beneath her, still alive. They told her to run, but she didn't because of them.
The plague doctor and the mermaid are tied to 2 trees, and the children gather kindling to build a pyre. The plague doctor begs the mermaid to tell them stories of the deep until they burn. And she does. She tells them everything. As the 3 surgeons light the fires and tease them about their fate and what could have been, the plague doctor asks about the power of the mermaid's name, knowing there was a reason her husband cut out her tongue. The mermaid begins to scream, and the plague doctor smiles.
The plague doctor asks the 3 surgeons if they remember them, but of course they do not. At this admission, the plague doctor starts to laugh, saying they will remember her. This quietens the mermaid, and the plague doctor speaks her name. The mermaid's body combusts, her flame so strong she burns them all.
In the morning, the mermaid wakes, surrounded by ash and charred figures. She spots the plague doctor's mask, intact and unmarred, surrounded by fragments of their bones, teeth, skull, and their bezoar. The mermaid plucks the bezoar and holds it carefully, vowing to make this right.
After 400 years of searching for knowledge, 10 years of constructing a chimera body using her own guts, sealing it with sigils using her own blood as ink, constructing onyx and steel bones, the mermaid is finally able to place the bezoar in a new body. The plague doctor breathes again.
Ooh, how romantic! Question mark.
Weirdly romantic.
Weirdly romantic.
Romantically weird.
Yes. I don't know.
While we ponder this, let's have a promo, shall we?
Yes. Say, everyone, just go and think about this for a few minutes. A few seconds.
Take your time.
If you need to pause, yes, pause and come back. It's fine.
Can I pause and come back while I think about this?
Have you ever read a book and thought, wow, I would love to see this on the screen? Well, the Adapt Me podcast is for you. Hi, I'm Emily Malik, host of the Adapt Me podcast, and with a guest every episode, we take a look at books that have never been adapted, why that's so, and how we would go about translating it to a different medium. We talk about any novel from the serious to the downright silly, as long as it hasn't had an adaptation. So come and take a listen to the Adapt Me podcast on wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, I've thought about it.
Okay.
I've come to the conclusion. It's just weird.
It's just weird. Just weird.
Weird, yeah.
But it's full of cannibalism and teeth.
Viscera. Coming out of the wazoo. Plus wazoo.
Yes. Yes. There are at least a couple of wazoos that may or may not have been eaten.
Probably eaten.
Probably been eaten. Yeah. Just teeth. And flesh devouring and gore and Frankensteining.
Frankensteining.
That's a word. I love this book. In the weirdest way.
I enjoyed it. But I enjoyed Black and Teeth more. I frustratingly enjoyed it.
Okay.
Which is
interesting.
A phrase.
Weird.
Which is a weird phrase.
Weird.
Let's stick with that. Okay, I'm going to explain, and you can rebuttal if you want, but I have reasoning.
Okay.
So, it was very Tolkien-esque. Okay, if you have ever read anything by J.R.R. Tolkien, you know that he will spend pages describing a tree.
Yes.
And he'll use quite fluffy language with the descriptions of the surroundings. Yes. But anything where there's like battles and stuff, it's very short. So what I'm referring to specifically when I say it's Tolkien-esque is the fluffy descriptions of the surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
The descriptions were wonderful in this book. When they're talking about the forest and the cold and the hovels and the viscera, and it was beautifully written, not discrediting that. But it felt pretentious at times. It felt a little bit like Cassandra Khaw had a thesaurus, or that found out that if you use Control F7 on your keyboard, you can get access of a thesaurus shortcut. And they were like, yeah, let's get some words in here. Let's get some Scrabble words in here. I'm going to win at Scrabble. And it was interesting, but I actually had to look up some of the words. And I purposefully didn't put them in the summary because, one, pronunciation, wasn't sure on them because I'd never heard them before, and I was reading the physical copy of the book. I haven't listened to the audio of this one, so I don't know the pronunciation based on the audio. And so I was reading the physical copy, and the other point is, I like to think I'm a well-educated person and a well-read person, and if I had to look up these words as well, it doesn't make an accessible summary for me. So I think it's an excellent book. I loved the gory nature of it. It's not a slasher by any means. It's tense. It's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like going into Ed Gein's house, but you're the police officer, and all the murders and all of the eviscerations being done and you're looking at the aftermath and you've got to describe it. Okay, that's how I seen this book. You've walked into Ed Gein's house. Now describe it. Okay,
but use your thesaurus to describe it.
But you've got to use your thesaurus to describe it. And that is my ultimate summary for this book. It's a fucked up fairy tale inside Ed Gein's house
with a thesaurus. It's amazing.
And I just felt like it took some of the accessibility away from the text. Now, I freaking adored Nothing But Black and Teeth. I loved it. Mm-hmm. And you can tell they're written by the same author, but I also think Nothing But Black and Teeth was much more accessible in terms of the use of the thesaurus.
Okay. I would just like to say that having read how many books with you? 300 books?
Oh, probably.
More or less. I have decided that you don't like flowery language because you also don't really care for Maggie Stiefvater or Laini Taylor, which I adore both of those authors, and I loved this book. And I think it's just, you are not a fan of the thesaurus.
Which is really ridiculous because I love a thesaurus at work.
Right? Yeah. But I think you just don't like it.
No, I agree. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I'm just like plain language. I love description. Don't get me wrong. I do love description. When the mermaid walked into the hovel with all the jars and offal and all the bits and pieces, and it was like basically like the storeroom of a butcher's offcuts. When she went into Ed Gein's, storeroom.
Yes.
It was disgusting and descriptive, and I loved it. When she woke up on the table, dining room table cum surgery theatre, and the description of her organs in the saltwater jars, and they're all still connected, and they're still connected to her. Loved it. But notice it wasn't flowery. It was descriptive.
It was gruesome.
Without being flowery.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. I can't get away with the floweriness.
So I want to travel back up to the beginning a little bit because I had another bit of background info that I didn't share then because I had a feeling this was going to happen. So another part of that, it's the Grimdark magazine interview. They say, your prose in The Salt Grows Heavy is absolutely beautiful. How many rounds of edits did it take to get this polished to perfection? And Cassandra replies, oh man, that's incredibly kind. I edit as I go, so I don't know how many rounds of edits. Sometimes I spend hours on a single sentence until it sounds right in my head.
Yep.
I have synesthesia, and a lot of my writing involves writing so it sounds right. Because if it doesn't sound right, it's just, well, it's a lot like trying to practice with a guitar that hasn't been tuned. You might get all the notes right, but God Almighty, your ears are gonna hurt. So I feel like I don't want to say that you would be okay with an untuned guitar. But it sounds like you'd be okay with an untuned guitar.
I don't think it's necessary I'd be okay with an untuned guitar. I think it's a case of the same piece of music on a different instrument.
So you would rather play a tune or hear a tune
There's a difference between the same song being played by the guitar to being played on the bass.
Yes.
It's the same song, but the beats are slightly different, the chords are slightly different, but you're still hearing the same tune at the end of the day. It's not that I want something
You want it played
wrong.
On a kazoo.
That's a callback to last week's episode.
It is. With whispering.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, no.
no, not the kazoo. Not the kazoo.
Bloody kazoos, man. Plague upon this land. That and the recorder.
Oh, yes. Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, yes, I would rather the same piece of music but on a different musical instrument.
Okay. Maybe the kazoo.
Maybe the kazoo.
I think one of my favorite parts of all of the flowery descriptions with the thesaurus was all of the descriptions of the flavors that were used. There was a lot of seasoning references. There was a lot of flavors mentioned. And I mean, obviously...
saffron.
Yes, so many of those. And obviously, it's because the mermaid's best sense is her sense of taste, because she eats everything all the time.
And she's
but
very classy lady.
She is. She's very elegant. And I really enjoyed that bit of it. Can I move ahead to my surprise?
Yes.
Okay. I'm really surprised that it took 400 years to reconstruct the Plague Doctor.
Same. Agree. Hard agree.
Because, I mean, it's not like the mermaid is an unintelligent creature, and I just don't think that it would take 400 years.
What was she doing in that 400? How much did she eat in that 400 years?
She ate so much. I mean, maybe she had to eat certain people to gain their knowledge.
Well, she also used a lot of her own organs and blood.
So then she'd have to go out and she'd have to eat and regenerate. But it doesn't seem to take that long to regenerate.
No, she did it in a night.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she had to, stop her daughters from the preventing apocalypse again because her daughters were on a rampage.
Maybe.
There might have been other things that got in the way. But yeah, 400 years feels like a long time. I mean,
it feels like a long
it adds
time.
to the weirdly romantic or romantically weird nature of it. It adds to the fairy tale that it took so long.
Yes.
But yeah, the Plague Doctor's like, oh, I had a lottery ticket for next Friday. Guess that's out of date.
I also wonder at bringing the Plague Doctor back, because as they were dying, they were like, okay, just take a lock of my hair and carry it with you forever, so I'll know your immortality. I wonder if they wanted to be brought back, because they seemed to not enjoy the whole resurrection thing and everything that the surgeons were doing.
I agree, but then I also think that the way that the mermaid's done it is with a lot more care, attention and love.
Oh, definitely.
And the fact that the Plague Doctor's saying that on the assumption that the mermaid doesn't know how to resurrect them.
Yes.
Not that she might have the patience.
The 400-year patience.
To go out and do it. In that time, she's got several doctorates.
Yes. Or she's eaten several.
Oh, she's eaten several doctorates. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that. But yeah, I think the Plague Doctor will forgive her for bringing her back, or them back. So I don't think there's going to be an issue there.
And what's the world like 400 years later? Do they live in the future? Are they future mermaids and Plague Doctors?
I mean, to be fair, the impression you get, this could quite easily have been set in the 1800s.
Yeah.
In recent times, and it could be, it's another 300 years in the future.
Yeah.
When the Plague Doctor comes back. Just, based on technology or lack of their technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree with you in terms of that being a surprise. It was like, oh, wow, 400, yeah? Wow,
Yeah.
you sat around and drank some cups of tea there waiting. The amount of influences as well, I think, so at least not the amount, but some of the influences of the story were somewhat surprising. Not to the degree I would say it was my surprise. I agree with you that it's the reconstruction. But the obvious one is the Little Mermaid.
Yes,
and you're like,
and that
I
weird
always
comic
knew
strip.
Eric was a jerk. Bloody Eric. But also there was and shudder. I hate this book. Lord of the Flies.
Ew, why are you even talking about it? Just pretend that it doesn't exist.
I wish I could. I can't stand that book. But yeah, when the boys start running through and Luke's already got his guts hanging out and there's like, kill the pig. I was like, no, it's Lord of the Flies. Why?
Why?
Oh, I hate that book so much. But thankfully it kind of like dissipated a bit. And obviously there was the Frankenstein element with the plague doctor.
Yes.
And there will have been a million others that I've missed. But yeah, it was like a mishmash of...
It was a Frankenstein itself.
It was a Frankenstein or chimera itself or whatever you want to call it.
No, I prefer to call it a Frankenstein, even though I know it's not the right word. I know it's Frankenstein.
I know. It's got to a stage where the monster can be called Frankenstein and people know it. Not that the monster's actually called Adam. But also, Victor Frankenstein referred to the monster as his son, therefore it would have been Adam Frankenstein. Yeah. And if you call him Frankenstein by the surname, it's still correct.
Yeah, it is. Adam Frankenstein.
Yes. Anywho. So yes, I can definitely see the inspirations that took place in it, which was nice because obviously Nothing But Black and Teeth was so meshed in the Japanese culture and yokai, and that was brilliant. It definitely shows Cassandra Khaw's diversity.
Yeah, I think another one of the reasons why you preferred Nothing But Black and Teeth over this one is because it was a haunted house. I mean, you love haunted houses, so I think that one was just more suited to your taste.
Yes. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed this.
Sure.
And I probably would have enjoyed it more if I wasn't stop and starting it because of writing the summary, and I think that can be often a case that we both suffer from a book. Some of the enjoyment sometimes goes from a book if we are doing that stop-start.
Yeah.
Just because we haven't got time to do a full read-through and then another read-through to summarise it.
I would recommend then that you listen to the audiobook because as we speed things up, as we are wont to do, it will take you an hour. An hour and a half.
Well, that's it. I looked at the audiobook, I thought that's my commute.
Yeah.
One day when I'm going in the office,
listen to it in a day.
I'm just going to shove it on and literally it's the drive and the walk into the office, so yeah, I think I'll shove it on for a commute one day.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth a read. But go in knowing it's weird.
That you need to bring your weird thesaurus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to cover favourite character, or can we just basically say it's the Plague Doctor and the Mermaid?
I think we can just say it's the Plague Doctor and the Mermaid. I think that's probably good enough.
Perfect.
Yeah. So does that bring us to time?
To time. To would you rather? Pew 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 pew. Yes. We asked on social media, would you rather be a mermaid or a plague doctor? On Facebook, 86% was mermaid. On Instagram, plague doctor won with 67%. On TikTok, plague doctor won with 75%. And on Threads, mermaid won with 67%. So there you go. Bit of a mix bag.
A nice split.
It is. Comments. We've got a few. Colin on Facebook said, I'd be a plague doctor, please. Mermaids have a lot to deal with, not least being the unknown terrors of the deeps. I mean, we just don't know what's down there, do we? There's all sorts of gnarly creatures swimming around just underneath you, and the first you know of it is when they swim up to you, grab you in their tentacles, and numb your face with their terrifying lamprey mouth. I mean, yeah, plague doctors have the whole plague thing to deal with, but you get a cool mask, and you can just make up any old cure, and the peasants will believe you. Got the sniffles? Time to rub a badger's scrotum on your left nipple. Plague? Do the same, but this time make it the right nipple. Easy.
Nice. I didn't know badger scrotum was such a powerful medicine.
Oh, it's a little known but very
It's a
powerful cure.
little known but powerful nipple medication.
Yes, I mean, the first problem is getting a badger.
Right. Bree on Facebook says both options are personally terrifying, but as a mermaid, I can lure people to their doom without fear of catching plague, unless my victim has the plague, but I can be picky about who I drown.
Coral on Facebook said, life goal is always to be a mermaid. People fear what they don't know, and sometimes that can be a little satisfying. Plus, I don't want to be anywhere near the plague.
Constance on Facebook said, guys, as a mermaid, you won't get periods and you don't have to shave your legs. I am sold. That is a pretty good selling point.
It is.
Not gonna lie.
No, I don't think the plague doctor in The Salt Goes Heavy will have menstruation either, so...
Probably not, because probably all of their insides have been pulled out and put back together a million different times, Frankenstein style, so...
Exactly. Well, Katrina on Facebook said, so I'm scared of the sea, so choosing mermaid feels crazy, but I feel I owe it to my younger self to say mermaid. I would pretend all the time and swimming in the pool.
Candace on Facebook said mermaid, only because I want to live in the water 24/7.
And Claire on Facebook said, I would have to be a mermaid. All that time swimming in the sea, luring unsuspecting sailors to their doom. Beach curls.
Oh, beach curls.
I mean,
yes.
So far that's the winning. That's a winning thing to be a mermaid. Beach curls.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What are you going to choose?
I'm going to choose Plague Doctor because I like the aesthetic more. Plus, for me, and it's built into fictional Hangover lore, that the mermaid is the wrong way around.
Right.
It should be a fish
yes.
top and legs on the bottom.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to say Plague Doctor. And because we are the Lords and Master of all we survey when it comes to Would You Rather, I'm a Plague Doctor who cannot be affected by the plague.
Right. Well, because you've got, the badger.
I've got the badger scrotum and a really cool mask.
Yes. Yes. I think, even though the mermaid is the wrong way, I think I have to choose mermaid, and it's not because of beautiful mermaid.
It's the teeth.
It's the teeth. It's 100% the teeth, and yeah, I don't really think I need to clarify that anymore.
You can be my beautiful mermaid to my beautiful plague doctor.
Okay, fantastic.
And we'll go and murder children and deal with surgeon gods and burn kingdoms to the ground.
Yeah, I think that's.
Would you reconstruct me after 400 years? Would you still work?
Yes, I would take approximately 400 years to reconstruct you.
Now, are you taking the 400 years because you're busy doing other things, or because you're trying to get it right? You were reading, weren't you?
I was. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fair.
Yeah.
I can't say that's fair. That's not fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Hey.
Would you rather?
Yes.
Would you rather eat eyes, hand, or heart?
Not the hand. It's bone. Or is that a good reason? Because you just... The problem I have with heart, and this is going to be a bit of a gruesome story from my childhood. # childhood trauma.
It's fine.
My paternal grandmother would cook organs like hearts in the microwave for the dog.
No.
She'd go to the butcher's, she would get organs, and she would cook them for the dog.
No.
And it's a very specific smell. And it's a fucking awful smell.
No. Mm-mm.
And I remember watching it in the microwave, like, as the hot air inside kind of inflates it as well.
No.
And then she kind of half terrorised me with it because she was an abusive hag. So I'm not going to go with heart because of the, like I say, # childhood trauma.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with eyes.
I want to ask you a question. Can you said something? You said something that stuck with me just a moment ago. You said it was a fucking awful smell.
Yeah.
Did you mean AWFUL or OFFAL? Because they both awful.
It was both.
Awful smell.
It was an awful smell.
Okay.
It was an awful smell.
Good.
But,
I like awful smell. It's great.
Yeah. I'm going to go with eyes, by the way, because I'm going to try and, like, pretend it's something else. Like, I think I'm going to pretend it's like bubble tea, and you pop the bubbles in your mouth.
Yeah, sure. Like a grape, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, despite the awful smell, I am a mermaid in this situation. And so I think that I'm going to eat the heart. But, like, you know, the second season of True Blood with the Maynard, and she's eating, you know, parts of people.
Yes.
There's a scene where she, like, cooks up a heart, and it's like got vegetables, and like she might make it into like a savory pie.
She makes it into a balanced meal.
Right. I think that that's what I'm going to choose. I feel like if you cut it up small enough and you cook it well enough, you know, with your seasons, all the seasoning that was mentioned in this book too, I think that would be the most delicious way, the most delicious thing to eat. I don't want to pop an eyeball in my mouth.
I mean, if you think about it too hard, you don't want to put anything of these in the mouth.
Right.
If you think about it too hard, you're going vegan. But
right. But I think I'm going to choose...
If you wanted to make it into a balanced meal, then yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to choose the heart. And, you know, cook it well and season well and not prepare it in the microwave.
No.
100%. Gross.
Yeah. Dogs seem to enjoy it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
What's our next question?
Well, it kind of leads on nicely, but I think probably going to be it leads on very nicely with what you were just saying about how you're going to cook a heart. Would you rather be forced to eat your own tongue seasoned with saffron and 5-spice, or the offal occultists, but it's totally unseasoned?
Oh no, I gotta go with seasoned. But I struggle, I feel like, with eating without your tongue. Like, I don't know that would be
well, if
easy
you
to
look at
do.
the mermaid on the book cover,
well, she's just a circle of teeth.
She's just a lamprey mouth.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's an issue in terms of.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, there's a main mandible at the bottom.
Right.
It looks like.
And if she wasn't lying, you should be able to see where her swim bladder is. But I'm pretty sure that was 100% a lie, just so she could eat.
You saw this. You could tell there was a smirk. If you're not one of our Patreons and being able to watch this, you can go onto our social medias, and the mermaid and the plague doctor images that were used in this week's Social Would You Rather are from the book. I've just took pictures of the book.
Yeah.
So you can get an idea of what the mermaid looks like.
Yeah. So I'm definitely eating my own tongue. Also, like I know where it's been, and it's got some nice seasonings.
Exactly.
But the cultists, I don't know.
Oh, those cultists, those children. You know, children are sticky and dirty.
Yeah.
You can't trust it. You can't trust them. I mean, what are they playing in soil and stuff? You know, did they wash their hands after killing Luke the first time? Doubt it.
Doubtful.
Doubt it. So yeah, you've got to go with your own tongue, I suppose. God, I just want to eat vegetables now.
Yep, for the rest of my life. Would you rather encounter the mermaid's children or the surgeon's children?
Easily the surgeon's children. Because the mermaid's children are going to eat me.
They're going to eat you immediately.
Immediately. There is no negotiation. but the 3 surgeons' children's gonna attack me, but I feel like I at least stand a chance of fighting back.
Yeah,
Look,
I mean, they're
the plague
kids.
doctor kills 17.
Right? Yeah. They're children. You could just, like, kick them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to encounter the mermaid's children because you're right. It's immediate devouring. You wouldn't stand a chance.
Exactly.
But I think you could fight off the other children.
Yes.
The surgeon's children.
Yes. Yes. Would you rather replace your eyes, your hands, or your heart?
I think I would replace my eyes. I don't want to replace my heart. I feel like that's a more dangerous sort of surgery. I don't want to replace my hands because of, that movie that came out in the 90s, Idle Hands. I don't want someone else's murderous hand taking over my body. So I think I'm going to choose eyes. And I mean, like, maybe I could pop them out and pop them back in, and just, like, change the color. It would change the look of my entire outfit. I feel like it's more aesthetically pleasing to replace your eyes.
No, I think that's true. I'm with you. I think it seems to be, like, not the easiest option, per se, but at least like, I don't want to have to remove a ton of organs to be able to replace my heart.
Yeah.
It's invasive. It's too invasive.
Yes.
However, I mean, I kind of get the is it Marissa Meyer? Is it the Cinder series?
Oh, yeah, you could have, like, a metal hand. You could have a robot hand.
I'm thinking maybe the hands, because then if I can go cyborg, perhaps. If we go down that route rather than the surgeon's route.
Sure. Well, then, in that case, I'll still stick with replacing my eyes, but then I'll do a cyborg eye so I can, use it to see things really well. I could, like, zoom in on stuff. I could take pictures with my eyeball.
Yeah, I'm thinking that would be cool if it was that situation.
If you were a cyborg, yeah. I mean, I don't think, wait a minute, Claire. We have traveled 400 years into the future.
Uh-huh.
And whatever future that is, I mean, it could be right now. It could be, a short time from now. But I like to think that it's at least a decent way into the future.
Yes.
So it'd probably be easier to have cyborg parts. And then, you recreate the plague doctor, but turn them into, like, a RoboCop.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. I'm still going to replace the eyes, but it is leaning now heavily RoboCop.
Yeah, we're going 400 years in the future. Technology is advanced.
Yes.
We have the technology. We can rebuild you.
Yes.
Yes, I'm
Perfect.
all for that.
Perfect. Okay. Favorite final thought quote. Move on from this weird dystopian future we've created.
Oh. It's the sequel. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple. Oh, this one's from quite early on. And you shall know her by the trail of dead. A harpy phrase. I smile at the music of it. All of my kind are just souls with a cloak of skin and scales, barely tethered to the act of living. You see, that's poetic. That's fluffy, but that's the poetic fluffy that I like.
Yes.
The flesh of the surgeons is more restorative even than the ambitions of my hope. Whatever else they are, whatever else they might represent, they are good meat nonetheless. There's nothing wrong with being a monster. Their mouth bends. You always know the right things to say. There isn't anything wrong with being a monster. But there's consequences.
Right, yes. Sure.
What have you got?
I feel like most of mine involve teeth. Which is not shocking. It's not shocking to anyone. The furs should help, at least until you smile. Your teeth will give us away immediately. What is the point of revenge if you can't enjoy it? So good. The abyss does not leave much room for niceties. Oh, okay, I've got two more. Like everything else, they are only meat. And finally, I smile into the gloom, and my teeth glimmer like knives. So much. I love it so much.
As I was doing the summary for this and all the mention of the teeth, I was like, yep, gotta put that in. Yep, mention teeth again. Yep, gotta put that in. Every single mention of teeth, I made sure was in that summary just for you.
Yep.
Just for nobody else. Don't care about anybody else.
Nope.
Just you. Just you gets the teeth.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay. If you liked this, try this. What are you going to suggest?
Well, I struggled a little bit thinking about this one because I was like, what do we have? What have we read that is even remotely similar, is even remotely weird? And I initially thought Mayfly.
Right? Yeah, I felt that.
But Mayfly is a highly sexual weirdness.
Yes.
So it didn't feel on par.
Right.
So I just went to the internet and I was like, what sounds a bit intriguingly weird?
Sure.
And I've looked at this one a few times, and I know that like Dawn Kurtagich, friend of the show, and other like Kat Ellis and Amy McCaw, I think as well, of all friends of the show, who've all recommended this. And it's Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery by Brom. And it seems to be one of these ones where we will get to it eventually.
Yes, I think so.
It's set in colonial New England. Slewfoot is the tale of magic and mystery, of triumph and terror as only a dark fantasist Brom can tell it. A spirited young Englishwoman, Abatha, arrives in Puritan colony betrothed to a stranger, only to become quickly widowed when her husband dies under mysterious circumstances. All alone in this pious and patriarchal society, Abatha fights for what little freedom she can grasp onto, while trying to stay true to herself and her past. Enter Slewfoot, a powerful spirit of antiquity newly woken and trying to find his own role in the world. Healer or destroyer, protector or predator. But as the shadows walk and villagers start dying and new rumours whispered, witch! Both Abatha and Slewfoot must swiftly decide who they are and what they must do to survive in a world intent on hanging any who meddle in the dark arts. And Brom, the author, actually has full colour artwork and chapter illustrations throughout, so that's really cool. It's potentially a good one for our book themed craft services.
Yes, but we've got a couple months till we get to that one.
We do, so just kind of putting it out there.
Yes,
people who want to follow along the book challenge.
Yes,
what
definitely.
are you recommending?
Well, I am suggesting one that came out a while ago. It's called Rolling in the Deep by Mira Grant, which, if you don't know already, Mira Grant is Seanan McGuire. So, we'll love it. When the Imagine Network commissioned a documentary on mermaids to be filmed from the cruise ship Atargatis, they expected what they had always received before. An assortment of eyewitness reports that proved nothing, some footage that proved even less, and the kind of ratings that only came from peddling imaginary creatures to the masses. They didn't expect actual mermaids. They certainly didn't expect those mermaids to have teeth. This is the story of the Atargatis, lost at sea with all hands. Some have called it a hoax. Others have called it a maritime tragedy. Whatever the truth may be, it will only be found below the Marianas Trench, and the depths are very good at keeping secrets. I butchered that last bit, but it's fine because I was just so excited about the teeth.
She gets so distracted by the teeth. It's understandable.
I got overwhelmed with the teeth, but it's fine. It's fine.
We appreciated it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. The teeth.
Teeth all the time. Do you have a new and indie spotlight that either has teeth, weirdness, fish?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all of the above. This one, I get a lot of emails from Darklit Press, and it makes me really happy because these are like weird, twisted, definitely 100% indie horror stories. And this one is called The Devil's Pocketbook by Ross Jeffrey. And it's a really nice, good, like, on par. Eric and Laura are in mourning for their daughter, who was born incompatible with life. To get away from their suffocating grief and the ever-present shadow their daughter has cast in their lives since passing, and desperately trying to recover their increasingly rocky relationship, they take a trip to the seaside town of Polperro in Cornwall. But no sooner have they arrived than they realize that their grief cannot be so easily eluded. Drawn to the waters, Eric and Laura discover a large devil's pocketbook, and inside, the miracle child they could never have. Scylla!
Oh, no. No, put it back.
Yes!
Put it back. Remember last week? Do not lick the black ooze. Do not open the sarcophagus. Do not defrost the bacteria from the permafrost.
Uh-huh.
Do not read from the Book of the Dead. Do not freaking take a foundling home. Do not give the fae your name.
Do not take a legendary monster home with you.
No! Leave it! Leave it alone.
Oh.
Stop it. Sounds brilliant,
Stop
but stop it.
Stop it. Okay. That's it. That's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
I'm Claire.
Join us next time for a live episode discussing the short story Juice Like Wounds, part of the Wayward Children series by Shannon McGuire, on Sunday, April 28th at 1 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. GMT. Look out for our Would You Rather polls and monthly challenges on social media. Don't forget about our book club on Discord. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok and YouTube at Fictional Hangover. And find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fictionalhangover. If you like this episode, check out our others and be sure to rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. And finally, special thanks to Liz Emerson for our music. You can find her on Facebook and Patreon. Thanks for listening.